A man was found dead on an Australian beach in 1948, dressed in an unusually neat suit, with every single clothing label deliberately removed. Hidden in a secret pocket investigators almost missed entirely, they found a tiny scrap of paper with 2 typed words on it, torn from the final page of an obscure Persian poem. It took researchers 74 years, and an entirely new field of forensic science, to even get close to an answer. The body was discovered on the morning of December 1, 1948, slumped against a seawall on Somerton Beach near Adelaide. He looked almost peaceful, dressed neatly in a suit and tie, legs outstretched, as though he'd simply sat down to watch the waves and quietly died there. He carried no identification whatsoever. His pockets held only ordinary, unremarkable items, chewing gum, cigarettes, a used bus ticket, nothing that gave investigators any real indication of who he actually was. Here's the detail that immediately signaled something deliberate was going on. Every single label had been carefully cut out of his clothing, seemingly removed specifically to prevent identification. This wasn't an accident or coincidence. Someone, whether the man himself or someone else entirely, had gone out of their way to make sure this body couldn't be traced back to a name. Months into the investigation, forensic examiners found something investigators had initially missed. A small, concealed pocket sewn into the man's trousers, easy to overlook entirely. Inside it was a tightly rolled scrap of paper, torn from a book, with 2 typed words on it, Tamam, Shud. Those words are Persian for the end, or finished, and they're the exact final words of the Rubáiyát, a famous poem written by the 11th century Persian polymath Omar Khayyám. Investigators eventually tracked down the actual book the page had been torn from, discovered discarded in a nearby car. Inside its back cover were faint, penciled markings, a sequence of letters that appeared to be some kind of code, along with a phone number that led to a local woman who claimed no direct knowledge of the deceased man, though she reportedly reacted strangely when questioned. That coded message inside the book has never been definitively deciphered, despite decades of attempts by codebreakers and enthusiasts alike, and it remains one of the most famous unsolved codes in criminal history. For 74 years, the case sat almost entirely unresolved. No official identification. No confirmed cause of death. No solved code. Then, in 2022, forensic genealogists announced a genuine breakthrough. Using DNA extracted from strands of the man's preserved hair, combined with modern genetic genealogy techniques, similar to the methods that have cracked other decades-old cold cases in recent years, researchers matched his genetic profile to living relatives. The identification pointed to a man named Carl, also known as Charles, Webb, a Melbourne-based electrical engineer who had reportedly disappeared sometime in the 1940s. Here's the important, honest caveat though. While this identification is now widely accepted among researchers studying the case, it only answers part of the larger mystery. Investigators still don't know why Webb was in Adelaide, how or why he ended up dead on that specific beach, what the coded message inside the book actually meant, or why every trace of his identity had been so deliberately stripped from his clothing before he died. Even with a name finally attached to the body after 74 years, the actual how and why behind his death remain completely unresolved. So here's the honest, lingering mystery at the center of this story. Modern genetic science finally answered the single biggest question this case had asked for over 7 decades. Who was this man? But identifying him only exposed how much of the actual story still remains a total blank, a cryptic, still unbroken code, a mysteriously erased identity, and a death nobody has ever been able to fully explain.